Hello, good evening, and welcome to the War Room. This is day 8 of Russia's illegal, terrible, horrible um, incursion into the Ukraine and the civil war, basically, and their fight for freedom and survival. And today, the news is frighteningly terrible. There's some news we've got that's useful and happy and joyful in terms of getting rid of evil, and there is things going on in the early hours in Ukraine, day 9, that is going on as we speak, that can completely change the way the map looks because of nuclear exclusion zones. And I'm not hamming it up. We're talking biblical nuclear fallout, potentially. So, it's the it's going to be the second to last thing we cover today. But if you were wondering why I have uh, a Fallout reference there in the splash screen today and a nuclear reactor, it's got everything to do with both because one may lead to the other. And it's not a joke. It's completely not a joke. So anyway, good evening. It is Thursday night here in the good old US of A, and I'm coming to you live from my bunker in Texas. Time currently is 8:33 p.m. Central Standard Time. We did start just a hair late, but it was just because I was talking to my panelists prior to kicking off the show. I've been working on show prep at work all day, and this is another one of those cases where I start the show thinking I don't have enough meat and potatoes to have a meaningful show. But I do appreciate all of you who come and spend the time with us and listen to us basically read you the news of the day. If I am your source of news, at least you can find a little bit of mental peace that I have tried to corroborate these stories with multiple sources before I share them with you, unless I expressly tell you I deliberately left it open so you can see how varied the propaganda is going to be. But as far as I can tell today, everything is pretty much spot on. Like, it is what it is. The the timestamps might be just slightly skewed depending on when I got it or when the news broke compared to when it actually happened. So if that's the case, I think I left little notes to try to help clarify that in case your sources come up slightly different than mine. But because this is a war and information is parsed and the sources are varied, and obviously there's propaganda and there's fake news and there's just whatever, um, always take any one of these sort of broadcasts with like a grain of salt. But I'm trying to keep it as factual as possible, at least as close to the timestamps as possible, and as unbiased as possible. Most of my panelists are pretty much cut from the same cloth. So, that being said, I think my panel is a little short tonight, but I have two of my regulars, so maybe the show will go quicker. It's not my aim to keep you up all hours of the night. I try to get the shows to start before 9 and end at 11. That was sort of a play on time. I think most of you will get that reference. But I just wanted to get in at prime time and out before bedtime for most of you. And hopefully some of you will find this useful. And if you do, um, just smash the like buttons and tell people that we're doing this, because myself and my panelists, my everyday panelists, we have decided that we're going to do this every day until this is over, and that task is Herculean. My background, slightly, um, psychology and sociology major with a criminal pathology background, and I'm an IT guy. So I've got different ways I can go about doing or looking at certain things, and I don't know where I was going with that, to be perfectly honest. I'm sorry. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And my first panelist, let's see, because my regular first panelist isn't here, I will start by bringing in my tradesman from the New England area. So this is Scott P79, so I can go ahead and fix the layout because I'm going to start dragging in the other icons. And hopefully, because we had Squibload trying to get in for the last 2 days, I've modified the permissions of my server, so hopefully he should be able to get in if he wants and speak. So if you're out there, Squib, thanks, and hop on in. You're more than welcome to jump in. Damn it! I almost had that thought I lost a second ago. Well, I guess while I'm doing this, let me go ahead and just address the audience because I have Shady Hill, and I have Terry Shearer, and I've got the finest of apes who managed to make it again. And I'm very grateful that you make it every night, so thanks. And if I am your source of information for the day, I'm flattered and grateful that you're here. And one of these days, I promise, I will try to find that Edward R. Murrow speech, and I will do my best to do that impression with an AM radio filter, and I will start the show with it and blow your mind. That being said, let me bring in my next panelist. This is my fellow IT guy who is out on the East Coast. I believe he is in Charlotte, South Carolina, or thereabouts. And I know you guys can't see his username, but I'll put it in the chat. I typed it out like this because it actually translates in Cyrillic, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Right there. That is not a bot. I actually did write that. And so I will bring in Mikhail Naistryksky.
I haven't realized I had been Russianized.
You have been Cyrillic.
I've been Cyrillic. I'm gonna have to call my lawyer.
It's fine. And my last panelist for the day, it seems, is the Polish Hammer. It's our Polish contingent. Actually, he is in the Midwest. He is in the United States. But
He's our Polski partisan.
He is our Polski partisan, and he's usually a regular panelist over either at Hit or Miss, or sometimes over at the Zeke Shoots podcast, which is usually Friday nights. So if you're not here tomorrow night because you're doing that, I completely understand. But good evening to Warsaw Patriot. So, as per usual, I'm not really sure if I have everything for the night ready to go for you guys. Let me see if I can fix this just slightly, because I didn't realize it was going to get that much of your avatars cut off. Here, let's just do it live.
Do it right the first time, Sean.
Well, sometimes I don't know how it's going to look as I'm scaling it, so that'll work. That looks okay. Sorry about that. We did that in real time. We did it live! So,
We'll do it live.
So I had a comment yesterday about the audio gain. So if you're in the audience and you can't hear me, please tell me, because I'm constantly trying to tweak the settings to make sure that everyone hears me. Otherwise, it could just be a goofy old man who just doesn't know how to set his audio mixer, and it's just on his end. But I'm trying desperately to get his situation sorted out. So anyway, like I was saying, today I'm not sure how much meat and how much potato we've got. It looks like we've got enough to do a full, maybe at least 2 hours, but since I've got one less panelist, and hopefully the interaction will be a little bit better, this may go quickly. Also, I know it was short notice, so maybe we won't be able to do this until Saturday or Sunday. But for my panelists, I just want to let you know, I'd like to do a show with you guys where you bring the stories, and I'm just going to sit back and let you run it for a while, because I know that I've been doing a lot of the talking, and I'm trying to get this where everyone has equal opportunity to bring things to the table for this. So
Since when?
well, I thought about it today at work, and I thought, you know what? Every newscast has multiple broadcasters, and it's like, we got to share this. So you know that I've got a lot of sources, and then I'm sure you guys have your own sources too, because you've been posting the links and stuff throughout the day. For those of you who are watching, I actually have a separate text channel just for show prep for this show. And anybody who wants to provide information to it, they can leave links to the stories that are about this conflict in there. So that way, either myself or the rest of the guys here, we can run the stories against other sources just to make sure, yes, they're legit and they're cool. And if they are, then, if it's good, we'll put it on the show. If you guys in the audience want to provide it, the link to join my server is in the description below as well. And you're welcome to also do that. I'm pretty sure that room is a public channel. So you can join the Discord, you can um, provide information like that. Or if you'd like to even be a panelist and discuss this along with us, I'm not opposed to the idea. I mean, I can have as many people as I want in here, so we can do that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to assume we've got a lot to cover, and if the show does end a little early tonight, I'm not opposed to it. I'm still desperately trying to keep up with, work, family, and sleep. And I've cut out sleep to handle everything else, so.
And dogs.
Well, family, yeah. So anyway, let me start this off lighthearted, I guess, because a lot of the news today is very heavy. So let me start this off very lighthearted by saying, go fuck yourself, Joe Biden, making me pay $71 to fill my fucking tank, you asshole.
You asshole.
Okay, so that being said,
Asshole Steve.
that's about as lighthearted as I'm going to get today.
Sadly.
Well, there's another thing, but I posted it on my social media. I'm sure you guys saw it, so that was kind of difficult because I walked right up to that thing and I grabbed his face and rubbed his ears through the window, and the guy who owned the car, he looked at me funny and I told him what happened. He goes, "Oh, dude, go right ahead." So that was cool. Anyway, our first story for you today, in keeping with trying to collect all the information of day 8, every show bleeds into the following day, the day before, because for me, I'm 8 hours behind Ukrainian local time. So I'm sure yesterday, towards the end of the show, we had 4 or 5 stories that covered actually the beginnings of day 8. So if you don't hear things that you might have read today about it in this show today, it was probably in yesterday's for the early hours. But for me, when my show concludes here, I usually try not to hang around off camera too long because I need sleep. And these guys understand that. So I'm just like, listen, I'm going to bed and y'all have a good night. And I'm just gone, right? Well, I don't get to go to sleep right away. My RSS feed, and I do it the old-fashioned way with RSS, and I get a lot of text messages from people who also help me research this information throughout the day. Very grateful for all of them as well. And they don't ask for anything in return, so cool, right? My text messages started pinging my phone at 2:36 a.m. this morning after the show and after I was trying to go to bed. And so the first story I have to cover with you is, hang on, I'm just getting up to my picture parts here. And let me go ahead and get the picture up. There you go. So you're probably wondering why I'm showing you a screenshot of Beijing 2022, which the Winter Olympics had just ended. But for those of you who are familiar with professional sports and the Olympics, that you would probably also know that following the Standard Olympics, the Paralympics follows immediately after, and it usually doesn't get the media coverage that it technically it deserves, but I guess it just doesn't get the ratings, or it's on a cable channel in the 9,000s or whatever, right? So anyway, this story does come out of Beijing and the IOC, and it says that the International Paralympic Committee, in a reversal Thursday, said that Russian and Belarusian athletes have both been banned from the Winter Games in Beijing that starts tomorrow, Friday. Technically, it's already Friday over there, so they've already been banned starting today for them there, but tomorrow for the rest of us. The about face came after widespread criticism when it said less than 24 hours ago that the athletes would be allowed to compete as long as they didn't represent their countries. So, okay, let me get this straight. You can compete, but you can't represent your countries. And if you win, you go in the almanac as what?
Individual, I guess.
I, when you win and you go in the almanac for the year, and it said Winter Olympics Beijing 2022, winner of the gold in the luge, I guess, right? And it would be like, I don't know, dipshit Stronskowski, right? What would it say for country? NA? Like, did they think that through? Clearly not, because they said they were going to do that, and then 24 hours later, after they got yelled at, in the last 12 hours, an overwhelming number of members have been in touch with us, the IPC president Andrew Parsons said in a statement. They have told us that if we do not reconsider our decision, it is now likely to have grave consequences. What is clear is that the rapidly escalating situation has now put us in a unique and impossible position so close to the start of the games. Other international sports organizations like FIFA and the International Skating Union have already banned Russian athletes from competition.
We're
So
not surprised about that.
here's the deal, right? If the world was against China in the beginning, in the first place, then why did anybody send athletes as a protest for human rights violations in China, right? Like, you had your chance and you blew it. And then now you're, what is this, a do-over with the Paralympics? And you almost screwed that one up too? Thank,
Mhm.
Thankfully, whoever runs thankfully this Andrew Parsons guy from the International Paralympic Committee, clearly he has more common sense than the original guys at the IOC.
Yeah,
Because
no
they
kidding.
went ahead with the show, right? And if you look at the ratings of that show, it was the world's largest commercial failure on TV in recent history. Like, nobody watched it. So why'd they even do it? Anyway, because billions, right? That's what it really is. Because
Mhm.
billions.
$1 billion.
100 billion dollars. Okay, enough now.
It's 1969. Nobody has that kind of money.
Right?
Sorry, old movie quote.
Yeah, and that's when he makes that face and he goes, shit. Anyway, so about an hour later, my phone goes off again. And now I'm getting grumpy because it's like, I'm trying to get some sleep, man. I got to be at work in a couple hours, right? Uh,
Sleep
two,
with that.
yeah, so it's 11:37 a.m. Ukrainian local time. So it's like the morning ops have already been underway. Two independent news outlets who have refused to toe the Kremlin's line following Russia's invasion of Ukraine were forced off of the air this week. Russian authorities accused Ekomovsky, one of the country's oldest radio stations, and Dozhd, Russia's top independent TV channel, of, quote, false information regarding the actions of Russian military personnel as part of a special operation in Ukraine.
False information or telling the truth. One or the
Well,
other.
so Alexei Venediktov, editor-in-chief of Ekomovsky, wrote that the accusations, quote, are not supported by any examples, any evidence, are unfounded and insulting to journalists and the citizens of Russia, adding that the order will be challenged in court. Hashtag Russian cancel culture. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure this guy's on a train headed for Siberia already. Just a thought.
Yep.
Probably already missing an eye, half his ribs,
You know,
probably a light
you don't
dose of radiation.
you don't need any of those eyes.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, they don't. He's not a traitor. They only give radiation to traitors. Remember?
I guess. All right, so 3 minutes later, since I'm already awake anyway, I got this really interesting tweet. So I'm gonna show it to you first. And you're wondering why I highlighted that stuff up top. It's because I was curious what the hell that was. And the tweet just reads, "That's why we turned to bombing the cities. Otherwise, oh sorry, Russia's army is not as professional as it appears on TV. That's why they turned to bombing the cities. Otherwise, their forces would sustain heavy damage. Soldiers of the 93rd Brigade of the Ukrainian army showed up, and this is the results of their work in the Sumy region." Those are all blown up and burned out tanks, right? The group that posted this picture Novosibirsk State University. The college tweeted this. They're not military. They're not journalists. But this
That's
happened
pretty
practically
bad.
right near their campus, so they were like, fuck it, it's newsworthy.
That's pretty bad when the local college does.
Mm-hmm. State University. Cool. Kind of cool. I captioned that picture, college tank go boom. So, I'm not sleeping. I doze off. Phone goes off again. It's now 4:42. It's lunchtime in the Ukraine. Well, just after lunchtime. 12:42 Ukrainian local time. Russian troops were seen Thursday in the center of Kherson. That's the town that's the Black Sea port city. The
Right.
one that was taken over yesterday. A day after Russia claimed to have taken control there, according to local reports. As many as 300 people may have been killed as the Russians entered the city, its mayor estimated. He said many of the bodies were rendered unrecognizable due to the Russians' high-powered weapons and explosives. The mayor and Russian defense officials claimed Wednesday that Russian troops gained control of the city of about 250 to 300,000 people, but other Ukrainian officials, including President Volodymyr Zelensky, countered that the Ukrainians were still putting up a fight. Well, as of the time that I'm telling you this story, that town has been taken over. This was more of a report of man on the street, of body parts and civilians that were destroyed. I mean, you can kill somebody or you can obliterate them, and that's basically what they're trying to say. Is there's people parts everywhere that they can't even recognize. So, at the same time, there was another message that went out, and this was actually another tweet. Bing! Right there. And that's Volodymyr Zelensky's Twitter account. And it says, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he had spoke to South Korean President Moon Jae-in Thursday how the country is defending itself, Russia's alleged war crimes, and he thanked him for, quote, supporting Ukraine and imposing sanctions. We will continue to work together, building an anti-war coalition around the world. It's a PR thing. Basically, he's just reaching out. I think they said that he averages 30 to 45 international calls per day. So,
Well, you would too if you were in that situation.
absolutely. So basically, what he's doing is he's putting his finger on the pulse of the world to see who his allies are and who his enemies are and who the people who don't
Trying
care
to
are.
build a coalition.
Correct. That way, if things start to go sideways, he can start to lean on all those people he made the calls and said, I thought we were all together in this, and name them publicly. And then the people of those countries will say, hey, we support them too, so why the hell are you backing off? You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
He's winning hearts and minds. I mean, the dude's already
He's
done
actually
it.
very, very freaking shrewd.
Yeah. No, it's
Because he's
clever.
going to get the country's own citizenry to put pressure on their government to do something.
Right. And, you know, in all honesty, that's probably a smart thing because
That's very shrewd.
well, I don't think it's shrewd. I think it's brilliant because the fact of the matter is if he builds a coalition of these nations that support him and then the world actually does declare war, it's not the governments that are going to war, it's the people he's trying to talk to right now. Those are the people that are going to actually have to suit up and fight and die. So he's just recruiting. You know, he's trying to make sure who's on his side. That, and he'll know who to thank if his side wins, so he knows who to send Christmas cards to. Anyway, let's move on. Boop. All right, so I gave up on sleep. Fuck it. I'm already making coffee. I didn't have any cinnamon rolls. Yes, I said it that way again.
Cinnamon roll.
Cinnamon.
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 All right.
Look, I gotta put it in the chat, right? Cinnamon.
Okay. All right.
yeah.
All right.
Like that. Anyway, I'm fucking around.
I know you are. I'm just going along with it.
Fatigue will do that to you.
Yeah.
5:44 a.m. 1:44 p.m. Ukrainian local time. This picture came up here. This is a stock photo. They've used it in several different stories before, but there it is. Russians' invasion of Ukraine represents the beginning of World War III, an attack on the free world. This came from a Ukrainian member of parliament Thursday. Alexei Goncharenko, and he's been interviewed a lot lately, actually. He's made himself very, very available. Claimed that he implored the U.S. to provide his country with weapons. He also said Ukrainians would give Russian President Vladimir Putin hell if he invades Kyiv. Trace Gallagher, he's a Fox News guy out in California, he noted that the U.S. is hesitant to put American troops in Ukraine because it might lead to World War III, to which Goncharenko replied that World War III is already here. The World War has already started. If somebody doesn't see it, it's their problem. It's war, not against Ukraine, but against the entire free world. Is he wrong?
He's not.
He's not, right?
No.
Nope.
It's communism's itchy blanket in the form of an iron curtain. I'm using cliches.
Well,
And he's trying to drape it over parts of Europe, Eastern Europe, and Western Russia again. And if he just topples over these little states one by one, then he is declaring war on the free world. Which is funny because he has been in power almost the entire time that the Russian Federation was rid of communism. He's gotten to drink the Kool-Aid of the free world, and yet he still wants to go back to, I don't know, vodka that tastes like donkey piss of the communist world.
Well, remember, that's what he grew up on.
Yeah. Doesn't mean you
He
have to
grew
go
up on
back to it.
donkey piss vodka, so he wants it back, tasting the way it used to be, comrade.
Look, I know. They say that if a dog pees on the carpet and you rub his nose in it, they hate it, and then they don't want to pee on the floor because they realize that every time they do it, you're going to rub their face in it, and that's degrading and disgusting. I had a dog I did that to, and he got used to the taste of it. So you're trying to tell me that Vladimir Putin's got his face rubbed in his own piss enough times that he wants to give it to everybody? He's like, oh, this is great. You have to try this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nobody wants to drink their own piss, though. Unless you're Bear Grylls. But he's a fake. Everything's studio and set up. Fake. Fakety fake.
Well, you know, there
Fake.
was also Patches O'Houlihan, too.
Well, I still think Les Stroud could kick Bear Grylls' ass. Just saying.
Probably.
Well, Bear Grylls was a legit SAS guy, so.
Yeah, but I mean, freaking Les Stroud was
Probably
a
not.
Canadian infantry dude. Like Mountain
Oh,
Patrol or
God.
some shit, so. I don't know.
Not really equivalent.
Yeah, well, Bear's gonna set up his fight, and freaking Les Stroud's just gonna whoop his ass while he's setting up the fight. Anyway,
Exactly.
I'm just fucking around.
I know you are. Move
All right,
on.
so coffee, cinnamon, cereal, whatever. I forgot what the hell I had for breakfast. It's all one big day for the last 7 days in my head. 6 o'clock, 6:46, 2:46 p.m. Ukrainian local time. I have a picture for you. There you go. This is kind of the updated southern map of operations in Crimea and Ukraine.
Crimea, I like that.
Yeah. Well, no, the thing is Crimea is Ukraine. It's been annexed and it needs to be returned, right? Let's just say it that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, the mayor of Mariupol, Vadim, I love saying that name, Vadim Boychenko, posted on the Telegram messaging service Thursday that Russia's army is, quote, blocking the supply and repair of electricity, water, and heat. So, infrastructure. They've crushed infrastructure.
Is anybody surprised?
No. Anyway, from his city in southeastern Ukraine. They have also damaged the railways, which makes getting away much more difficult, right?
Right.
They've also destroyed the bridges and destroyed the trains. So now we can't evacuate the women, children, and elderly out of Mariupol. Yesterday, Boychenko reported mass casualties in Mariupol as it suffered intense shelling from Russian forces. This was the first town that got taken over yesterday. There was two. There was Mariupol, there was Kherson. Those two in one day. That was kind of Russia had a pretty good day in terms of conquest, and obviously Ukraine had a very bad day. But these are smaller, lesser populated cities too, so it was probably the resistance was probably far less intense than, like, say, the group that was trying to take Kyiv. So let's move on. About an hour passes by. Get rid of this for you. And it's sort of a economics thing here. So 7:47 Central Time, which would be 8:47 before 9 a.m. in Washington, D.C., and the Biden administration plans to seek at least $10 billion from Congress to assist with Ukraine's growing humanitarian needs. Now remember, a couple days ago, they pledged, what was it, 350 million? 375, and then the following day they pledged another 58 million, and now he's going to cut a check for 10 billion.
How
Where's
about
that?
just give him a couple warthogs and Apaches? I think that would help more.
I have a story for you
Be
about
cheaper.
that. I got a story for you about that. We'll get there.
It would be cheaper.
We'll get there. We'll get there. I promise.
I'm just angry, okay?
Well, I just want to know that if he can cut these checks like this, then he can drop the gas tax for the rest of us.
Yeah,
Why
no
not?
kidding, right?
409 today. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Yeah, 379 here.
In a letter sent to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Wednesday, the Office of the Management and Budget, OMB, said that the funding is in, quote, an immediate need. We appreciate Congress's continued support for Ukraine funding, which has allowed the U.S. to provide over $1.4 billion in assistance to Ukraine since late 2021. Okay, they've been cutting checks before even a couple days ago, right? This request identifies the immediate need for $10 billion in additional humanitarian, security, and economic assistance for Ukraine, Central European partners. Ukraine and Central European partners due to Russia's unjustified and unprovoked invasion. Tell you what, you Democratic Congresspeople can whip out your checkbooks and you write the checks to make it $10 billion, and the rest of us will applaud you for it. And then we'll see if it actually helps. And then if it does, then maybe you can tap into our wallets later. But in the meantime, leave our fucking money alone.
Yeah, I hate to tell you this, but they won't.
They won't.
Nancy will have to sell one of her $3,000 fridges.
$35,000 freezers.
Oh, that's
sir.
even worse.
Yeah, and she's got like 4 of them. Anyway, no, I mean, leave our money alone. And I did read a story today that there was a base in, I think, Colorado, and they were about to decommission 3 flights worth of A-10 Warthogs. And now there are some in this country and in others who caught wind of that and said, why don't you just donate that to the Polish and then we can go and join and create our own Eagle Squadron, because they've been salivating like Pavlov dogs over that freaking convoy that I've been banging the drum on for the last 5 fucking days. Like, you've heard me say it. If you've been watching this every night, I've been telling you, I'm like, yo, why is that thing not the highway of death right now? Well, I wasn't the only one who thought about that. And there have been pundits and supporters alike writing all day today. I probably read about 30 stories about why the A-10 Warthog isn't a good idea, or why it would be a fantastic idea, or why we should do it, or why we shouldn't do it. And you know what? At the end of the day, every story ended the same way, whether they were pro or con. I guess we'll never know until we send them. If you've got volunteers, what's that saying in the what was that saying in the movie in Pearl Harbor? There's nothing stronger than the heart of a volunteer, right? So you get a guy like that with that kind of determination, and you put him in one of the most deadly ground attack based flying tank implements in history, you're gonna get some results. It's just a thought.
It's not a bad thought, but
Send in the Warthogs.
the other problem is, where do we base them?
Poland.
Where do we send them to?
Poland.
Well, no, they have to go. They have to go to Ukraine. How do we
Well,
get?
the nice thing is they can land just about freaking anywhere that's long enough.
Yeah, Poland.
They're
next door neighbors.
Land on a highway if they want.
They're next door neighbors, dude. You send them to Poland, you ferry them over there, Then you let them. You set them about their work.
The biggest problem is a lot of the munitions that Ukraine has probably are not compatible.
If we're gonna send the planes, we're gonna send the fucking ammunition too.
You would hope, but let's face it,
Biden
it's
is an
US
idiot.
politicians
So
you talk about.
Yeah. Well.
politicians and Biden are idiots. So don't.
Well, I'm just
Get your
saying,
hopes
you
up.
know, if like a naval destroyer just decided to drop off a couple of crates, or they might have just fell out the back of an Arleigh Burke class destroyer, you know, and float over to the shore. Just the thought.
Well, we
Northern
do
coast
have
of
2 carrier
Poland.
battle groups that are within striking distance.
I'm just saying, man. Couple of Chinooks,
There's a
couple of Mark
little bit of
19s.
firepower sitting there.
My idea was simple. Like, you know what? I'm going to combine the two ideas we're having right now, okay? Because Scott and I talked about this morning, and he didn't agree with me on this, but I think the way I'm going to present this to you, maybe you'll be a little more open to this idea. You grab like a flight of Chinooks, and you know those things have Mark 19 grenade launchers on the flanks. You don't have to use the Mark 19s with grenades. Use 40mm tear gas canisters, fly over with like Flight of the Bumblebee blaring away on a PA system, and you tear gas the whole area. So that way those troops are scared, running, pissing themselves, they're not manning the AA, and then you send in the Warthogs. See? You got yours, I got mine. Everyone wins. Freedom wins. The airframes on those A-10s are retired. That is correct. However, there was a retrofit program that replaced all the wing roots and wings on them. So, yeah, some of them might be clapped out, but some of them might not be. And anybody willing to want to fly one, they should be allowed to, as long as the mechanic will clear it. Just saying. I think it'd be cool to give that girl another good run at it, you know? And we talked about this today too, actually. Um, who's to say we just can't make more? You know, like, okay, maybe the tooling's gone, but you still have the plans. Why don't you make a modernized version? Put better avionics in it, better engines, and a glass cockpit, and send that joker back out. Thunderbolt
Right?
3. Go for it, right?
Yep.
Because the fact of the matter is there's a reason why we still use B-52s. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It still works.
Mhm.
It's still a viable weapon of war. The A-10 Warthog is a still viable weapon of war. It has a titanium tub. It is the American answer to the Russian Il-2 Sturmovik. Because they were the first ones to come up with the concept of a flying tank. And theirs was epic. And then ours was epic plus P.
I would say the P-47 was a flying tank.
No, it didn't have an armored tub.
Actually,
See,
it did have armor.
the Sturmovik was an armored hull with a plane built around it. The A-10 Warthog is a titanium hull with a GAU-8 and an airplane built around those. P-47D is just a big, heavy, radial-engined 8-gun fighter plane that ended up working better as a fighter bomber. It was originally designed as a fighter plane. But then when they realized that huge auger of a radial engine up there gave it incredible diving capabilities, and because that giant radial engine acted like a giant shield to ground fire, and you can knock out 4 cylinders out of like the 9 pistons up there and still run, they were like, no, this thing's awesome. The engine was its protection because it was so big. Like, I've got stories about that
You
thing.
also know some of the best, or I should say, the highest-ranking U.S. aces were flying P-47s.
I would argue that some of the highest aces were flying P-38 Lightnings, like Dick Bong. He had more kills.
In the Pacific, yes. Not in Europe.
Well, he had more kills. But then again, he had more to
he's one
shoot
guy.
at. He had more to shoot at, too. Now, I've got the whole list of aces of the Pacific and aces over Europe, too. I mean, you're right. There's a lot to be argued there. But we flew Lightnings in Germany, too. Or, sorry, in Europe, too. It's just it was made famous in the Pacific because it's the thing that could wipe out Zeros. Anyway.
The range.
Drop tanks. All right. Let's move on. Uh, yeah. See, even Patrick likes the idea. Let's make more A10s. Why the fuck
Yeah, but the
not?
thing with the A10s are,
Hmm.
what makes them so fucking good
Hmm.
is the fact that they're so freaking low tech.
Yeah, they're durable because they're simple. And I think another reason why they're so good is because I think most anti-aircraft these days are expecting something that screams across the skyline super fast, right? An A-10 has more in common with a P-47 than it does an F-35. It's slow. It's slow and it's armored and it's durable and it's simple, like you said. And that's what makes it successful. They built a plane around a gun, you know? It's like that joke that, somebody had a picture of Jeremy Clarkson at the corner of their desk and they were like, let's build that guy a car. And then they came up with the Holden Monaro VXR. Yeah, it's the same thing. Big, simple, clunky, powerful, and puts a huge smile on your face. Anyway, let's move on. I still love A10s though.
I
If
do
I,
too.
if I could own one, I'd have one.
Me too.
All right, so let's push on. Literally a minute later, so like sleep, fuck it. Shower, I guess it'll have to wait. And it's 7:48 now, so a minute later, my Ukrainian source pops in again. It's 3:48 local time there, so we're about an hour and 10 away from curfew kicking in. And this story pops out of, I think, Moscow? There you go. They sure do love showing these poor little blonde girls in Russia getting hauled off. Look at the way he's got her in an arm bar, pinning her face down. It's like, Jesus. I'm really sure she's gonna be able to overpower you, dude. You're like,
We need to start a campaign to save all those blonde Russian girls.
mm-hmm. Save the Ruskies.
Yes, I am joking.
No, I'm fine with that. Whatever. They're refugees too, and
Yeah.
I've got a story about that, so it's coming. Relax, we'll get there. But anyway, so a European official was on the record saying that they're seeing signs on social media that Russia will or could impose martial law within its borders as the invasion of Ukraine continues. On March 4th, so it'll be today now over there, both chambers of the Russian parliament will convene for an emergency extraordinary session. As I understand it, the preventative imposition of martial law in Russia is solely on their agenda. Ukraine presidential advisor Mikhailo, not you, Mikhailo Podolyak, posted on Twitter, according to the Interfax news agency. With a total ban on all rallies, disconnection from the outside world, large-scale food and financial restrictions, the evacuation of those who can afford it is now beginning across the country. They're having a Ruski exodus. They want out. So they tried to oppose, they got arrested. Now they're facing 15 years. The other ones that are trying to oppose, they're about to get clapped with martial law. So now everyone's like, I'm out, peace. And they're starting to leave if they can afford it. Right now their money is worthless. Their country is sanctioned, and most of them are banned from travel. Pay us, please. Let's move on. Okay, sorry. Where am I? About an hour later, I think I got a shower in by then. It's 10 minutes to curfew in Kyiv. And make sure I don't have a picture for this. Russia's foreign ministry, Sergei Lavrov. Sorry, every time I see his name, I think Sergei the Lapdog, because he just does Putin's bidding, right?
They all
Anyway,
do.
yeah. Well, when you see Lavrov, I just think lapdog. Anyway, he said Thursday that Moscow is ready for peace talks, but will press its effort to destroy Ukrainians' military infrastructure, which the Kremlin claims is threatening Russia. Lavrov says a Russian delegation submitted its demands to Ukrainian negotiators early this week and is now waiting for Kyiv's response in a meeting set for Thursday. Lavrov vowed Russia will insist on provisions that Ukraine will never again represent a military threat to Russia. They basically want to make sure that Ukraine can never have a military again. Almost like how what we did to the Japanese, but at least they have the JDF. He said it will be up to Ukrainians to choose what government they should have. Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, as
As
long
long as they bow to
it's their puppet.
Moscow.
Yeah, as long as it's their puppet. Lavrov voiced regret for civilian casualties during the Russian invasion in Ukraine, which started last
Bullshit.
week, and insisted that the Russian military is only using precision weapons against military targets. Has he not
Only.
watched the news lately?
No. Yeah.
He tactically dodged that some of the he tactically not acknowledged that some of the Russian strikes could have killed civilians, saying that, well, any military action is fraught with casualties, and not just among the military, but maybe civilians too. Thank you, Captain Lavrov, Captain Obvious, Lapdog.
Lavroblius?
I don't know.
I'm trying to say obvious.
Captain Roblius.
Roblius.
Lavroblius. Jesus.
Yes.
right.
Lavroblius.
So anyway, a minute later, I guess the Ukraine's foreign ministry must have saw something and responded. Possibly? No.
Yeah.
No, this is more of a joke, I think, but it's
It's
kind of
all
cool.
a joke.
Here's the picture. Ukraine's National Agency for the Protection Against Corruption. Wow, what a bureau name. Reportedly declared Thursday that anyone who has captured Russian tanks or military equipment during the ongoing war is exempt from having to declare it for tax purposes. Here's the actual quote.
Didn't they say that yesterday?
Partially. Anyway, this is the best part.
All right. All right.
I was about to do the Insane Clown Posse.
Okay, go for it.
It was, what was it? Do you have money? Are you broke? Do bitches look at you like some sort of joke? Anyway, no. The National Agency for Protection Against Corruption put out this statement. Have you captured a Russian tank or armored personnel carrier and are worried how to declare it? Keep calm and continue to defend the motherland. There's no need to declare that captured Russian tank or any other equipment. That was their official statement. Even they have a sense of humor while they're being besieged. These people are awesome. I think.
Well, you know what it is? A Russian farmer who captured probably a tank or two.
Oh, we saw that
probably
video.
asked about
We
that.
saw that
yeah,
video.
We saw that video. He probably asked about that. They took it as a joke. It's like, no, you don't have to reclaim it on your taxes.
I know, but still, I mean, I know it wasn't a real line, but you know, I just remember George C. Scott going, "We got to save that son of a bitch." Like those people are brilliant. You have to save people like that, right? Anyway,
Right.
speaking by the letter of the law, combat trophies are not subject to reflection in the declaration for the following reasons. They were acquired not as a result of the conclusion of any type of transaction, but in connection with the full-scale aggression of the Russian Federation. They were like, well, look, you didn't buy it. You took it as a war trophy. So that's not income. That's just compensation. Anyway. The statement added that noting that, quote, the enemy military equipment usually comes to you already destroyed and disabled, which makes it impossible to find out what such property even costs. These people are hilarious. They really are. I love them. That's awesome. Those people are awesome.
They are.
All right, so moving right along. A couple minutes later, now it's 9 minutes to curfew. What I've noticed is a lot of stuff happens early in the morning, a little bit around lunchtime, and a bunch of information. You get like an info dump just before curfew. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're all getting ready to, or they're all heading back because they're about to lock down, and maybe all their journalists are getting to put this all out there and collate it and send it to us. Maybe that's what it is. So anyway, let's see. So 2 minutes later, here we go. Okay. I titled this picture, Yoink.
Yoink.
French authorities said Thursday that they have seized a yacht linked to Igor Sechin, That yacht is worth $580 million. An
Million
ally
dollars.
of Russian President Vladimir Putin, as part of European Union sanctions over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The French Finance Ministry said in a statement Thursday that customs authorities carried out an inspection of the yacht Amore Vero in the Mediterranean resort of La Ciotat. So maybe that isn't the French Riviera. The boat arrived in La Ciotat on January 3rd for repairs and was slated to stay until April 1st. When French customs officers arrived to inspect the yacht, its crew was preparing an urgent departure even though the repair work wasn't finished. Gee, why are you leaving, bro? What's the rush? The boat was seized to prevent its departure. It says that the boat is owned by a company that lists Sechin as its primary shareholder. Sechin runs the oil giant Rosneft, which recently just got hit with a wave of sanctions. That's a really nice boat, but man, I gotta tell you, that radar up on the topmast, that looks awfully military, doesn't it? This guy trying to be like Blofeld also?
Probably.
It's got a diving board on the prow. Look at that shit. Anyway,
Wow.
let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't know how that seizure
back.
works. It's like, oh, by the way, your country has just been hit with a wave of sanctions, and you're named on that list. So this boat, that thing you paid for with all that money, you're gonna have to leave now because it's ours. Like, how do you do that? Like, hi, it's mine now. What? I don't know how that works. All right. So this next story, I call it Presents from Scandinavians. So what you're looking at is the tale of a Hercules C-130 with the the heister, sorry, forklift.
The shyster.
Huh?
The shyster?
The shyster. It's my buddy calls the heister forklifts the shyster. Anyway, a Hercules C-130 transport aircraft carrying around 2,000 anti-tank missiles for Ukraine departed Norway Thursday. You remember Norway? You remember them Scandinavian countries that said, hey, we want to join NATO? Yeah, they're responding. Also Thursday, Germany's economy ministry approved of sending 2,700 anti-aircraft missiles to Ukraine, according to the DPA news agency. The agency quoted unnamed economy ministry officials saying that the weapons are technically they're Soviet-made shoulder-fired Strela surface-to-air missiles left over from East German's army supplies. So, Night Strike and I had talked about this. They're Strela 2s and Strela 3s. Those were designed starting in 1968. They have an operational range or operational ceiling of about 14,800 feet. Yes, they might sound old, but they still work. They still do the job. So, of course you can have them. You're going to need them because when they do ground attack, they're going to be flying low anyway. Just, yeah, use up the fireworks, man. I mean, think about 2A guys. You all know this. You load your magazines with self-defense ammo. You go to the range, you usually unload it, and you put ball ammo in there. Then you're done with the range trip, you come back, you put your self-defense ammo back in, right? But after 2 or 3 range trips, that self-defense ammo is getting scratched up and beat up and just sitting there, and you're never firing it. And one day you're just like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm shooting this. And it's actually good training anyway, because sometimes your self-defense ammo has a different recoil impulse. Because it might be a heavier load. It might have a different powder charge. You don't know until you shoot it, right? Well, it's kind of the same principle with this stuff. They have it. They knew it worked before. It's just sitting there. They don't have to spend any extra money to produce it. It's just there, and somebody needs it. And it's like a token of good faith. Here, use our firework. Use our self-defense ammo. Yeah, it might have a couple scratches in it, but it still works. That's not a bad thing. It's not terrible. Let's move on. Sorry. All right, so now it's 9:16 a.m. So now I'm starting to think, maybe I should get off my ass and get ready to go to work. 5:16 p.m. Ukrainian time. So we're into the hour of the curfew starting to settle in. People are still probably moving off the roads and getting ready to lock down, hunker down for the evening, because as we all know, the Russian infantry start their shenanigans at dusk, mostly. And then the air wing kicks in after sundown. That's kind of the MO lately. Russian journalists are trying to escape Russia as they now grow concerned for their own personal safety. Wait, what? Yeah. Tikhon Dyzyadko is the chief editor of Dozhd TV, a media outlet that has been critical of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and was shut down Wednesday. Managed to depart Russia overnight. He is quoted as saying, after the illegal blockage of Dozhd sites and Dozhd accounts on several social networks, as well as threats addressed to most of our employees, it became obvious that the personal safety of some of us is now under threat. So, if you don't toe the party line, you don't drink the Kool-Aid that tastes like Russian donkey piss, they're going to come after you. Just like they do the people in St. Petersburg and in Moscow. The 8,300 people have been arrested? Something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are they going? Where are
No
they
idea.
sending these people? Have you noticed nobody had the guts to follow the paddy wagon? Moving right along. Let's see, do I have a photo for you for this one? Yes, I do. Okay.
Hey,
This is called Let's Punish the Hit Squad. And so, anyway, do I have this right picture on here? I might be off. Let me take a look. Oh, no. Okay. So 5:37 p.m. Ukrainian time. We're half an hour into curfew, and a couple of stories are coming out of actions throughout the day. Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa is leading the charge of 5 Republicans, calling on the Biden administration to enact sanctions against against and investigate the Wagner Group amid reports that hundreds of Russian mercenaries are in Kyiv on a mission to assassinate Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. In a letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, Ernst and her colleagues asked for immediate action to be taken to investigate reports suggesting that Russian President Vladimir Putin has hired hundreds of mercenaries from Russia's Wagner Group to assassinate Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. They also asked for economic sanctions imposed through the Department of Treasury's office for foreign assets controls. Pursuant to Executive Order 14024 on the Wagner Group, including Yevgeny Prigozhin, Dmitry Utkin, and Konstantin Pikolov, as well as any other known affiliates. The Wagner Group, I guess it's Wagner, I don't know. Russians and Baltics don't usually use W's, they use V's. So what does it say, the Wagner Group? Technically, a private Russian military company, has been considered a proxy group of the Russian state abroad since its inception in 2014 and participated in the annexation of Crimea. In December, the European Union, with support from the State Department, enacted sanctions against Wagner Group, and its associates for serious human rights abuses, including torture and extrajudicial killings in countries including Libya, Syria, and the Central African Republic, and Ukraine's Donbass region. So these guys are like Blackwater? Like a really shitty commie version of Blackwater? Patrick, what do you think? You're out in the chat. I think it sounds right, though. Alright, so, moving right along. About 9:58, about 10 a.m. It's an hour into the curfew. A French official told the Associated Press Thursday that French President Emmanuel Macron has spoken for 90 minutes by phone with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who told Macron that military operations in Ukraine are, quote, going according to plan. Now, this is one of the creepiest phone calls I've heard of in a long time. The official at the French Élysée presidential palace said Putin told Macron in the conflict, he told Macron the conflict would continue until the end unless negotiations met all of his terms. Putin said negotiations must center on the, quote, neutralization and complete disarmament of Ukraine. Putin reportedly said he would attain that goal by military means, if not by political and diplomatic means. Now, I'm sorry, you're not political, and you are definitely not diplomatic, so you're only using military means. The official also said the two leaders spoke at Putin's request. An aide to Macron separately told the Associated French Press that the French leader believes the worst has yet to come. In Ukraine, following his call with Putin, he was genuinely creeped out by talking to Putin today, because Putin sounded like, well, Joseph Stalin. I bet you thought I was going to say Adolf Hitler. No, I mean, Stalin killed over 20 million of his own people, so he sounds like that, according to Macron. Pretty scary. Like, it's not helping that whole maybe he's unhinged theory, because he sounds insane. The plan was for an epic dumpster fire. Yeah, something like that. Alright, let's move on. 9:59, 10 a.m., so it's now 6 p.m. This is a minute later, actually. Russia's Federal Security Service, their intelligence branch, has drafted plans to conduct public executions in Ukrainian cities once they've been captured. That's pretty demoralizing. That's shocking, it's demoralizing, it's terrifying, it's a war crime. These people don't care, do they? And apparently neither do we, because nobody's doing anything about it. Just saying. Now, Ukraine isn't as bad as San Francisco, HVS. You see, the problem is San Francisco is still covered in human feces, and it still has a hypocritical bitch as its mayor. Oh, did I say that part out loud? Sorry. London breed. Yeah, you're a real piece of shit. Anyway. Let's move forward about an hour. Now it's 11 o'clock my time. 7 o'clock UK time. UKT, Ukrainian time, sorry. It's dusk. Things are going to start to get a little more active, like every day before. Residents of Ukraine's capital have been bracing for a massive Russian convoy of tanks and armored vehicles to unleash on the city. That convoy, however, has been stalled for 3 days, just miles outside of Kyiv. They haven't, from our best estimates, have not made any appreciable progress geographically speaking in the last 36 hours. And again, nothing very significant. It's difficult for us to know with great specificity all that is going on into this stall, if you will. This came from Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby. Those of you who have heard me talk about this know that I'm not a fan of that guy. He sounds like an idiot. And he doesn't actually say anything of use. Like, when he talks, my brain shuts off. It's just wah, 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 wah. He never says anything useful. Because the first thing I can tell you is his estimate of how long it's been stalled is already a day off. They've been sitting there for 4 days. Not 3, not 2, 4. Now, there have been a couple of people who have sort of poked around the perimeter, and they're starting to figure out some of the reasons why they're not moving. One is logistics, fuel. They sort of ran out. And I wondered about this. How do you run out of fuel how can you make this much of a tactical blunder only a week in? And what I had discovered is this invasion was actually supposed to take place almost a week earlier. But at the request of Chinese President Xi Jinping, he said wait until after the closing ceremonies. So at the time, these guys were all staged, ready to go. They were using fuel because they got to keep the engines running because diesel gels and oil gets thick when it's really cold. And they got to keep the heaters going because it's freezing outside, right? So you got that going on. And they're burning through their MREs, which had an expiration date of 2015. So the story I told you yesterday about how the soldiers only had 3 days worth of rations may have been wrong. They had 3 days worth of rations left. They probably and realistically had 10 days worth of rations, but they were delayed by a week. That's why they ran out so wholesale they had run out. That makes sense to me. That actually makes logical sense now. But the other reason is most of their military hardware, the transport trucks, some of the Grod launchers, those things, a few tanks maybe, a lot of those APCs, they had sat in inventory since last April. Out in the elements, bad weather, raining season, autumn, snow, the whole time, no maintenance, zero. A lot of these trucks use CTIS, which is the Central Tire Inflation System. Many of you know that because it was standard equipment on the Humvee. Well, most of their heavy equipment has that too, but it wasn't maintained. Sometimes they would air down to go through crappy terrain. They couldn't air back up. Sometimes they would air down and the seals would give out and the tire would completely flatten out. Sometimes it would go back down, and when they reinflated the tires, the split rims would explode, or the lug nuts would give out. And they've got pictures of these trucks with broken wheels at the hub, sitting in mud up to their waist. They're bogged down because of a lack of maintenance? Probable. I'm not going to say impossible. I'll say probable. But on that scale, that's horrific. I have a different theory on why they're up there, and I know I talked about it yesterday. I really think they're sitting there because they're waiting for the southern wave to catch up, and then they'll use a pincher attack on Kyiv from the top and the bottom. That's what I really think. But I'm probably wrong. So anyway, let's see. The convoy, which is about 40 miles long, is stalled about 20 miles outside of Kyiv. Now, this is a conflicting report as well. They're saying 20 miles out. They're saying it's a 40-mile long convoy. But the day it started to stall, they said they were only 7 miles out. So what's it going to be? The other thing is they're saying that they might be stalled because Kyiv's infantry forces have been doing hit-and-run harassment tactics at the on the column. So they knock out, 1 or 2 vehicles and run away. And that creates a log jam. And then they knock out a couple in the back, and then they run away. So they are doing the highway of death, but at the ground level. And it's very slow going because it's a limited number of people with a very limited number of man pads and RPGs and rockets and stuff like that. So there's that going on too. It is messing it up. HVS is citing that the Russian soldiers are sabotaging their own vehicles. There have been some reports of that in the northern convoy because it's comprised of a lot of the conscripts, and they're like, I didn't sign up for this. So there is some truth to that as well. But knowing how the Russian military works with its diehard leaders of old KGB and FSB people and just, psychotic generals who just, want to jerk off to pictures of Stalin, if that went large scale, I'm pretty sure some of those commanders would go straight to that place, go straight to that truck and say, whose truck is this? And then the driver would raise his hand and he'll say, why is there fuel all over the floor? And then the guy would say, I punctured the tank because I can't follow this order. By the time he said, I punctured the tank, he would already have 4 bullet holes in his head, and they'd be kicking his body off into the gutter. And then they would say, anybody else want to puncture their tanks? No? Get your shit together. We're moving out. That's how the Russians work.
That's how the real Soviets were.
That's how the real soldiers work. Right, exactly.
Soviets, not
Serving the Soviet Union. I gotcha. So anyway... So the fear is that the menacing convoy could encircle the capital and prevent anyone from leaving, laying siege to the key city. Do you remember me saying yesterday that what they're doing to Kyiv is the same thing Nazi Germany did with their U-boats around the UK? Does that sound familiar? I mean, are we just that ahead of the curve, or I don't know. Anyway. Kirby said that the convoy's holdup could come down to 3 reasons. Russians are deliberately reassessing their progress and strategizing on how to make up for lost time. Not likely. Uh, Unanticipated logistical challenges are besetting the Russians' plans. Very likely. And 3, they're getting resistance from the Ukrainians. 100% likely. We have some indications, nothing that we can 100% independently verify, but we have some indications that the Ukrainians have in fact tried to slow down that convoy, and we have no reason to doubt these reports. But again, we can't speak to it in great specificity. Bullshit. Now, Mikhail Neitstritsky has very accurately pointed out, and I think Scott did too, we have satellites that can read license plates on cars. We know
do.
exactly what the fuck is going on. You're just
Oh, yeah.
saying that because you're giving the world media the illusion that we don't know what's going on. You never want to tip your hand on your intel on the public stage. Not unless you've already won. So I get it. I think I understand that. And they got the perfect dopey headed idiot as a spokesman to sell it. So whatever. Fuck that guy. I just got a chip on my shoulder for everybody today. I'm sorry.
You do.
It's because I didn't
glad
get
I'm
my
not on
fucking
your hit list.
anaconda for the second day in a row.
I'm glad I'm not on your hit list.
No. No, I gave you a cool name. Sorry.
I
Let's
didn't need
move
a Russian
on.
name. Thank you.
Let's move on. We're actually making really good progress. I think the show is going to run a little shorter than usual, which is fine. All right, so
Fine.
now it's it's only 2 minutes past the last story. 11:02, 7:02 Ukrainian time. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling Thursday for a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin publicly. He's quoted as saying, "Sit down with me to negotiate, not just at 30 meters." Because of that picture of him sitting at the table with the 2 generals all the way at the other side. He's basically poking fun at him, right? Sit
Yep.
down with me, let's negotiate, but just not at 30 meters. Well, why? Are you that bad of a shot with a pistol that you don't think you can hit him in the head from 30 meters? Come on, man. Let's be honest. That's what you're gonna do, right? You're gonna have that freaking Cop 357 4-barrel Derringer in your sleeve. You're just gonna flick your arm out. It's gonna land in the palm of your hand, and you're gonna freaking turn his head into a canoe. I mean, maybe I'm just
Nobody would
giving
be
him.
opposed to that.
No, I'm just giving him way too much street cred. But God, would that be badass?
Yeah, but I don't think he'd do it.
But anyway, he says, yeah, so he said, Zelensky said that to reporters in an apparent reference to the long table that appeared in recent images of Putin meeting with other world leaders. He was quoted as saying, "I don't bite. What are you afraid of?" Zelensky added. Words are more important than shots. Let's see. HVS is saying, "You've been really busy on there today. I should be reading this. I'm sorry. You can have a satellite and gather photos, but then you can tell Biden, so no, the leader of the free world has no idea what's going on or how to organize his sock drawer." I'll give you
This is
that.
true.
I'll give
This
you
is
that.
true.
He tried to have like a public speaking this morning on the way to his helicopter, and somebody posed a question that really fucked with him, and his wife like grabbed him and shoved him away. Maybe she's the one running the show. We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see. So anyway, I got about an hour break, and you know it's noon now for me. It's 8:03 p.m. We are definitely in the dark hours now in Ukraine, and Luke Oil is one of the largest oil companies in Russia. If you live on the East Coast, you may have seen the gas stations. They're red with white letters, and it says LUK, Luke Oil. I think they have about 250 gas stations nationwide, but mainly on the East Coast. Anyway, Luke Oil is one of the largest oil companies in Russia, is calling Thursday for Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the armed conflict in Ukraine. So I guess they don't agree with it. Luke Oil's board of directors expresses its concern over the ongoing tragic events in Ukraine and its deepest sympathy to all those affected by this tragedy, the company said in a statement, according to the Financial Times. "We urge a speedy cessation of the armed conflict and fully support its resolution through the negotiation process through diplomatic means." On a side note, Luke Oil was banned by city decree in Newark, New Jersey today.
Oh, go on.
What they have done is they have, by decree, forced a company out of business within the city limits. Shut it down, that kind of thing, right? Here's the catch.
Uh-huh.
There's a catch with that, though. All Lukoil gas
Always is.
stations are franchised owned. Olav Istov Bikoye. I already took care of it. Relax. Anyway, my point is they shut down private businesses today just because they're franchised to the name of the company of Russian ownership. Kind of weird, right? One of the guys that was shut down today, he did a public interview and he's like, look, we understand why you're doing this, but you need to understand I'm an American that owns a franchised gas station and all my employees are citizens of New Jersey. Shutting me down is not helping the problem. It's making our financial security worse. And he would be right. But the problem is, if you own the franchise to that gas station, you have to fill your fuel tanks to fill people's car tanks, right? And obviously you're going to be getting fuel from the company whose name's on the building. So I'm sure the city is like, we feel for you, but you're still shut down. It just makes sense. Let's see. Al says, I don't know if you covered it yet already, but Sabre cut Aeroflot out of their booking system. I didn't know that, no. I mean, most of the things with commercial airlines that I've been catching and reading is mainly just no-fly zones, for civilian aircraft or whatever in particular countries, like almost all of Europe and the United States. I think Canada's air is still open to Aeroflot, which is kind of strange, considering. Okay, let's move on. My throat's starting to get sore.
Really?
Yeah, I've been talking a lot today. I've
Well,
been yelling a lot at FedEx, too.
you do that all the time, though.
Well, because they lost my Anaconda.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! They lost your Anaconda?
Well, it's been in my city for 2 days on a truck, and it keeps saying delayed and undeliverable, so I'm pretty sure they lost it. Anyway, I told you, the world just doesn't want me to own snake guns. 1205.
Just like the world doesn't want me to own a PSA AK.
Yeah, they don't want me to have the RPK.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Al's saying they can't even book flights within Russia. Okay, that's pretty severe. They're right now. Russia is in civil unrest and peril within its own borders. You've got an anti-war movement in the country. You've got the Ukrainians putting out a propaganda poster pleading to the mothers of conscripted soldiers, we have caught your sons, we have their pictures, here's a phone number you can call us, we will verify if we have them, they're safe, most of them surrendered peacefully, you can come to Kyiv and we will turn them over for you so you can take your sons home, not in a body bag. And I thought, that's a pretty good psyop. Pretty good. And yeah, they're canceling flights within the country. There's also all the sanctions. There's also all the Oman and sober guys cracking down on protesters, and now they're implementing martial law. That country's about to get locked down and put into the Stone Age, or the Dark Ages of 1960 communism, for real. I mean, it's a shame that Warsaw's not here, but I mean, St. Petersburg is going to look like the Polish ghettos of World War II, for sure.
Oh.
They're going to lock them down, for real. They've already got the military police everywhere on the streets of those cities. It's halfway there, let's be honest. I wasn't saying that as a joke. It's kind of haunting. Anyway, let's move on. He would probably agree if he was here too, by the way.
He probably would.
Okay, so now it's 12:05, 8 o'clock p.m. Night ops are about to begin, but there was a meeting, diplomatic meeting. Ukrainian presidential advisor
Mhm.
Mikhailo Podolyak, sorry I got that wrong. Mikhailo Podolyak says that a meeting Thursday between Ukrainian and Russian officials has ended with no ceasefire deal being reached. Second round of negotiations are over. Unfortunately, the results Ukraine needs are still not available. There's only a solution for the organization of human corridors. So, I didn't mention this before, but it was a story that had been developing all day. Ukraine is trying to negotiate with Russia to allow certain free pass corridors. Certain roads will be traversable by civilians only if they want to leave. That still hasn't been agreed upon. I heard like a story or two that it was, and then I heard a story 3 or 4 that said not really. And it seems like at this point it's still sort of a not really, because you can't stop the diehard Russian Spetsnaz douchebag who jerks off to pictures of Brezhnev and his super sexy eyebrows.
Ugh. Don't say that. That's nasty.
Dude, Russians have some strange proclivities. I'm just saying.
Not that strange.
That's pretty strange. Anyway,
Stranger
um,
than-
so there's no negotiating that. Like maybe you get a drunk Russian soldier who's like, look at that chick there walking down the street, and he just wings her with a dishka or something. Just saying, like there's some pretty sick people out there. Anyway, no ceasefire deal, no safe passage deals still. 2 hours later, the White House makes an announcement. Gather round, children. It's story time, right?
Story
And
time with Uncle Sleepy Touchy Joe.
yep, but I've got a list.
Oh, good. I hope you're
I
shut.
have a
Right.
list. Yeah, here we go. You're gonna love the first one too.
I'm not. I
No,
really
you will.
not.
I promise. So the White House announced Thursday that the following Russians will be cut off from the U.S. financial system. All of their financial assets in the U.S. will be frozen, and their property will be blocked from use. Sounds like an IRS seizure, doesn't it?
It does.
First person on the list, Nikolai Tokarev, and his wife Galina, his daughter Maya, and his 2 luxury real estate companies. Next person, Boris Rottenberg. Doesn't sound like a Russian at all, does it? That includes his wife Karina and his sons Roman and Boris. Okay, those sound Russian.
I think those sounds Russian.
Arkady Rottenberg. So I guess it's his brother, including his sons Pavel and Igor and daughter Lilia.
Oh, Pavel and Igor.
So we got, if we take the kids, it's Pavel, Igor, Roman, Boris, and Lilia. No Natasha? Anyway. Next, Sergei Chemezov, including his wife Yekaterina and his son Stanislav and his stepdaughter. So they're doing these people by name.
Stanislav.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Igor Shuvalov, including his 5 companies, his wife Olga, his son Evgeny, and his company, and his jet, and his daughter Maria, and her company. Like, that's the way it was worded. Kind of strange, I know. That's why I read it kind of, I kind of hammed it up, but that's the way they worded it. It was like a run-on. Yevgeny Prigozhin, including his 3 companies, his wife Polina, his daughter Lyubov, and his son Pavel. Pretty popular name.
Pavel.
Yeah. Dmitry
waiting-
Peskov, press
waiting-
secretary for Vladimir Putin.
Or Wolf.
Hmm?
Polf. It's also a Russian name. Wolf.
Well, I haven't seen it on the list yet.
I know. It's
Next.
not as common as it used to be during the Union.
Next, Alisher Usmanov, considered one of Russia's wealthiest individuals and close ally of Putin. Usmanov's massive yacht. Oh, this is the story that Scott was talking about. Usmanov's massive yacht was seized by Germany. So you were right. My mistake. So there were two massive yachts that were taken. The first one was 580 million or $540 million. Usmanov's $600 million super yacht.
Yep.
And his private jet is now blocked from use in the U.S. Oh, what'd they do? Padlock the hangar? By order of who? Like who? You know they got to stick like a notice on there, like a search and seizure. By order of Joseph R. Biden.
Oh,
Anyway,
God.
anyway, what, they scribble it on there with a Sharpie on a piece of toilet paper? Stuck it on there
Probably.
like paper mache?
Probably.
No, you
Oh.
know what it is? I got it. I would troll these fuckers so hard. They'd come to their aircraft hangar and there'd be like a 20-foot tall vinyl of Gandalf with a staff going, "You shall not pass." Anyway, sorry. I shouldn't be
You
joking
shall
about this.
Yes.
I should really not be joking about this. All right, 4:07 p.m. Central Standard Time. The day is winding down pretty quickly, but what's really scary is the worst is yet to come. That's just foreshadowing. It's 12:07. It is now Friday morning, day 9 in Ukraine. And, man, this story, I have a hard time even looking at it. The White House is contemplating whether to send Vice President Kamala Harris to Europe in an attempt to show solidarity with Ukraine as Russian President Vladimir Putin continues his invasion into the country. What is
Maybe
she
we
gonna
consider
do?
the Russian-
Like, how many
I'm gonna
sets
show
of
up and offer them vodka.
knee pads is she bringing?
Ooh, not enough.
The trip, which could take place in the coming weeks. Weeks. Do you think the Ukraine has weeks?
No.
Would consist of Harris visiting Warsaw, Poland. That would trigger Warsaw.
Warsaw
Both the town and the panelist.
and the panelists, yes.
Bucharest, Romania, with Harris making a stop to visit with American troops stationed there. One source in the report also noted that a visit from President Biden to the region is for now off the table due to logistics. Presidential visit is a heavier logistical lift. Well, yeah. The vice president has a smaller footprint and is historically more nimble. What you're saying is if they're going to take down an aircraft with a SAM, knee pads is much more expendable. We get it. We're not stupid. Then we don't have to listen to her dumb cackle, and the nation will be free of somebody who nobody voted for. Got it.
No, it won't. It will never be free.
If she's gone, they're free. White House official, let's see, said that there's nothing yet to announce and that Harris, quote, has been deeply involved in the administration's engagement with its allies and partners. How? You
Deeply
still
involved doing what? Just
Yeah.
standing there looking?
She has accomplished nothing in 14 months. Anyway, earlier this week she spoke with Prime Minister of Poland and a number of other leaders from Eastern Flank allies to discuss our collective response to Russia's invasion of the Ukraine and to underscore the strength and unity of our alliance. Yeah, I'm sure them knee pads and bottles of scope in her little pocket. That's what she's doing to strengthen our alliance. Mm-hmm. Yep. You can expect the vice president will continue to engage with allies and partners on these issues. Yep. Just remember, scope in the right pocket, Kleenex in the left. Just saying. Got the vice presidential monogram knee pads on and everything.
Oh my
You can
god.
tell I don't really like her.
Nobody does.
Sorry. I can't stand her.
I can't either.
Okay, so 1 minute
Make it
later,
better.
this is where things are gonna start to get serious. So I'm gonna stop trying to joke about this. A minute
Well,
later,
I'm gonna make my joke first then.
go ahead.
Well, apparently she can go to Europe faster than she can go to the border.
Yes. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Well, then again, no. See, they said that they're gonna send her, but they said in the coming weeks. So
She still hasn't been to the border yet.
she went to El Paso, I think.
That don't
That's
count.
not the border. That's Texas.
It's on the border, honestly. Like
No, it's not.
when you
No,
drive
Brownsville is on the border.
listen, when you drive down I-10 to head towards Las Vegas, you go through El Paso, the border crossing, you can see it on off of I-10.
Okay, listen. I'm from Arizona. Okay, Nogales is on the border. Brownsville, Texas, is on the border.
El
El
Paso's on the border.
Paso, not really.
No, it's on the border. It really is.
Not enough.
It is. I'm telling you. I'm a Texan. I can tell you this. Anyway, let's move
I
on.
don't believe it.
Well, then get a fucking map.
I've got a map. Thank you.
Anyway. All right, joke over. A minute later, this story broke that Russian forces were closing in on one of the largest nuclear power plants in Europe. Oh, look, it's going across the scroll at the bottom right now, too. According to Ukraine's deputy interior minister, who is warning that violence there could result in a massive radioactive disaster. Because of Vladimir Putin's madness, Europe again is on the brink of a nuclear disaster. This came from Anton Heroshenko. I forgot who he is. He's the deputy interior minister. He shared images showing makeshift defenses around Enerhodar. This is the city where the Zaporizhzhia... What is it? Oh, shit, I said this right yesterday. Zaporizhzhia. That's where the power plant is located. The Ukrainian government began warning Wednesday that Russian activity in the area could result in a, quote, nuclear catastrophe. And then I wrote a note here that says there is an update to this. So that story, that tidbit, was at 4 o'clock Central Standard Time, 6 hours ago. Okay? There's another story coming. Just pay attention to the time frame here. So about an hour later, RT America, this is a Russian state-funded media outlet, is permanently shutting down as tensions rise between the U.S. and Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. An employee for RT America said that she and approximately 120 other staffers who were described as American citizens were informed in a meeting on Thursday that operations were shutting down effective immediately
Yes, Patrick, I know. I was being obstinate.
At the network's Washington, D.C. headquarters, as well as the New York, Los Angeles, and Miami bureaus. Like, all simultaneously, just bang, 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 bang. You're all shutting down today. The staffer said employees were given severance packages. This comes also as DirecTV announced that it was removing RT America from its programming line, I'm skipping a line. This comes as DirecTV announced that it was removing RT America from its programming, saying, in line with our previous agreement with RT America, we are accelerating this year's contract expiration timeline and will no longer offer their programming effective immediately. They just shut it down, just boop, pulled the plug. Spotify has also removed RT Link's podcast from its platform. So, there goes another giant Russian piece of intel and propaganda off the table. Now, 6:31, so it was 2.5 hours from the story I just told you before this one here. I have a picture of it. It's kind of like the backdrop picture here. Now, this is before the attacks began, because all the photos I looked up for this plant under attack, you can't make it out. It's just too dark. You just see explosions in just like these hazy lines. So this is what the plant looks like hours prior to the attack, just to give you a reference point, okay?
Also, this is Europe's largest nuclear power plant.
Is it all of Europe? I thought it was just Ukraine's
All
largest.
of Europe.
Okay, so this is major then. So,
Yeah.
2:30 a.m. Friday morning, Ukrainian time. This is day 9. Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station, Ukraine's largest and one of the largest in all of Europe, is currently under attack from Russian forces. This is a power station. This is not a military installation. There are no guns. There are no artillery. I don't even think there's fucking radar in these things, right? A plant manager reports that Russian forces have repeatedly shelled the plant starting Thursday evening. The plant is larger than its more famous counterpart in Chernobyl, containing 6 nuclear blocks compared to Chernobyl's 1. It was reported that some of the shelling hit one of the plant's energy blocks, with firefights, sorry, it's probably firefighters, having a difficult time fighting the blaze because of the ongoing attack. So they're fighting fires and dodging artillery. Director General Rafael Mariano Grassi called the situation at the plant critical and implored military units to avoid combat in the area. The IAEA continues to consult with Ukraine and others with a view to provide maximum possible assistance to the country as it seeks to maintain nuclear safety and security in the current difficult circumstances. Dmytro Kuleba, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, tweeted that Russian forces were, quote, firing from all sides on the surrounded facility. Fire has broken out, he claims. Or no, sorry, he wrote, a claim that appears to be supported by grainy live stream video. If this station blows up, the fallout will be 10 times greater than Chernobyl. Now, think about this. They're in a town that has a short little river right in front of the Black Sea, so the cooling tower water has a place to go. Okay? It's the entire south of the country, plus the way that the tides work and air currents work in the area. Russia is literally shitting on themselves because the nuclear fallout will go right into Russia. It'll cross over Donbass. It'll go right into Russia. It'll compromise Turkey and most of the Istans, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all those. It may affect, depending on if the winds go the other way, it will affect Odessa. It'll affect Moldova. It may even go as far over as Slovakia and Poland. It will contaminate the entire country. They're shelling this thing with howitzers as we speak. Right now. Right this second. They're attacking it. It's not a military installation. This is the actions of somebody who can't win. It's if I can't have it, nobody can. That's what it seems like to me. Has it occurred to anyone that this invasion would make a fantastic PlayStation game? Have you never played Escape from Tarkov? Anyway.
That's okay, because apparently the one person that can save Ukraine is on the way.
Chuck Norris?
Even though he was slurring his speech as he was saying that.
Chuck Norris?
No.
Vin Diesel?
Chuck Norris doesn't slur his speech.
Vin Diesel.
James Yeager, on the other hand, does.
Wait, are you serious? Is he going there?
He said he was on a live stream.
I need to see video proof when he lands. What's he gonna do?
He's gonna volunteer for their corps.
Hey, you know what? Go with God,
trainer.
dude. Like, go with God, dude. If you really think you can help, we can.
I bet
he
gets
joke.
home and he gets bitch slapped back to reality.
Listen, we can joke in jest or whatever, but it took some modicum of bravery to even get his ass on a plane to go, right? Like, we can joke about it, but I mean, if he actually...
Well, he hasn't gone.
Oh, he hasn't left yet?
No.
Oh, just saying it, not doing it.
Also, I don't know if there should be plenty of ditches in Ukraine, so he should be all set.
Shit. Anyway...
Savage.
I really love the idea of creating an Eagle Squadron, though. Like, before this was a possibility, I think you and I were talking about this, I'm like, when are we going to see Louis Gossett Jr. go and attack it with a P-38 Lightning?
No. F-16s, come on.
No, just... what is it? Ace's Iron Eagle 3. That's what I was quoting, or alluding to. Anyway.
I was going with one, but...
Alright, so we didn't even know you left. You didn't say anything.
Yeah, I did. It was an emergency, family.
Okay. Well, you're back just in time because, surprisingly enough, this is the last story I have, unless you have something to add that's after this timestamp. I'll check my sources too, just in case before we close out.
Let me
for
check
today.
just real quick. I'll check my sources.
Okay. So 6:44 p.m. This is now 2:44 a.m. Ukrainian local time. This is day 9 over there. So by the time me and Mikhail and Scott here are done, we will pick up tomorrow's day 9 coverage past whatever we're about to tell you. So, like, I won't repeat any of this tomorrow, just in keeping with canon. Let's see. Okay, so Al's writing some stuff here. He's got an update from it. In Kyiv, officials told the IAEA that the fire didn't affect essential equipment. The agency said, lessening initial concerns that the shell's damaging a reactor. Okay, so that went to the Wall Street Journal 15 minutes ago. Now, that's not to say that they're still not attacking it or might not hit it again, right? This is just as of right now, and that's good. That's actually comforting news, I guess is a good way to put it. Like, I'm not trying to go Chicken Little on everybody here either, but I mean, let's just think about this. I chose this picture and this backdrop today because they could become a very real possibility if they. What if, like, Putin gets a wild hair up his ass and he starts using those thermal barracks on that building, on that power plant? Get your power armor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not overstepping, reality here. Obviously, the power armor's not real, but you get my point. Okay, so my last contribution for the day, unless you guys have something after this, you're welcome to jump in after this, is
Yeah, I got
6:44 p.m., 2:44 a.m. This is more of a confirmation of something that happened earlier in the day. And yes, I did a caption at the bottom just because fuck him, right? Meet General Worm Food. Sorry, I had to. I had to. General Worm Food. Ukrainian military kills top Russian general. Ukrainian defense forces killed Russian Major General Andrei Sukhovetsky in combat earlier this week, according to Ukrainian officials and Russian media. This is the official.
You have to add worm food at the end now. That's part of his name.
Oh, man. Damn it. Oh, I just put it on the bottom of the caption. Anyway, Andrei Sukhovetsky Wormfoodsky, happy,
There.
was commanding general of the Russian 7th Airborne Division and a deputy commander of the 41st Combined Arms Army, and by far the most senior Russian figure to have died in the conflict so far. Here's the thing that they didn't tell you. He was taken out by a sniper. Was the sniper from Finland? Did this sniper have a last name Haya? I don't know.
First name Simo.
No, because that guy's long gone. I know you said like Simo Haya the Fifth, sort of like George,
He
like
probably
George
had
Patton the
kids.
Fifth.
He
Anyway,
probably had kids.
I gotta admit, I really like his hat, but he's
He did
dead
survive
now.
the war, so he did have kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, all joking aside, Al adds that the reactor probably would have scrummed due to the stress and vibrations from the shelling. That makes sense to me. There are seismic sensors and things. You're right. So, it's very possible the control rods would have just... Well, actually, you know what? That might be the case. So, if it's got 6 reactors and the shelling was across the entire vicinity, I guess the only way to know for sure how well the system works is if all the power went out. Because if you drop the control rods in all 6 reactors, and that's the main producer of energy in the area, because the only other power plant in the region for there is a hydroelectric dam, which, okay, yeah, that puts out a lot of power too. But you would think that this puts out the lion's share of energy for most of the country and probably surrounding countries. 6 reactors. This is a big motherfucker, right?
I thought it was 9, but I could be wrong.
No, it says 6 nuclear blocks, so it's probably 6. Unless they double up on them or something. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to claim to know. But I do know it's 6 times larger than Chernobyl, and look how bad that spot was. And that was just one reactor flipping its lid like a quarter. Imagine 6 of them. Near an ocean. Simpsons fish are just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that's me personally as the host, your host tonight. That's all I've got for my contribution. So, Mikhail, do you have something that came after this?
Yeah, apparently, the whole Swedish-Finnish wanting to join NATO thing?
Yes.
Apparently that's still on the table. and they've done a poll with all the citizens, and I'm gonna bring this up in a second so you can see the poll. But yeah, it's looking more like the whole country does want to join NATO.
Cool. No, that sounds
Here,
great.
let me get the what's it?
Oh,
And
I've have some updates about the oh
there
my
we go.
god.
Can you see that?
Let me pull it up. Give me just a sec. I'll do that so everyone can see.
See, so of those in Finland and Sweden, 53% in Finland say yes, they want to join NATO. They support joining the NATO alliance.
I think the don't knows can jump into that part too, honestly.
The don't knows will probably jump into the part the worse the war gets. Yes.
Sure, yes.
The knows will probably stay at 28%. Okay. Now Sweden they've been pretty neutral too, give or take a few wars. Well, we're gonna be nice about that. But you know, the knows are at 35%. The don't knows, again, who probably will change at depending on how bad the war gets.
Sure.
They may change either way. It could go either way, but it doesn't matter. The yeses at this point have it. So it's looking like Sweden and Finland may be applying for NATO membership soon.
That works for me. Actually, I think they already have an application. They're asking to be fast tracked in.
Fast-tracking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like HVS's answer. She's like, "Great, they can have our spot in NATO."
Yeah, but again, it's just this just popped up,
Sure.
and they're apparently Finland is really concerned that Russia might attack them again. It's been a while.
Surely you jest. No, I know.
It's been a while. So
Well,
Okay.
if they join NATO, do you know what that means?
Article 5.
Oh god,
Well,
here
no.
we go.
No, I wasn't going that way.
No, you
I was
would be
gonna go
right to do so
sweet,
though.
Sweet RK-62 parts kits.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, hold on. If Sweden joins NATO, does that mean we might get more Valmets?
Okay, let's not put the cart
Sweden
before the
didn't
horse
get around
here.
it to finish
Was
it.
it Sweden? I thought it was. I thought it
No,
was Sweden.
that's what an RK-62 is.
Let's
Okay,
not
so
put
that
the
was
cart
Finland,
before the
okay.
horse. We're getting too
I
excited.
had my countries wrong.
Okay.
I stand corrected. I'm sorry.
All right, so I have some updates.
Mm.
President Biden spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after reports of the attack on Zaporizhzhia. Sorry, that's really hard to say. Nuclear power plant. So the president spoke with Zelensky of Ukraine this evening to receive an update on the fire at the nuclear power plant. Biden joined Zelensky in urging Russia to cease its military activities in the area and allow firefighters and emergency responders to access the site. He also spoke this evening with Undersecretary of Nuclear Security and the U.S. Department of Energy and Administrator of National Nuclear Security Administration. God, that's a lot of titles. To receive an update on the situation at the plant, the president will continue to be briefed regularly. Crews are now working to put out the fires at the plant, and regulars say there have been no changes in radiation levels. This sort of plays into what Al was
Chernobyl?
adding on to earlier.
Like they would tell you if it was true or not. Anyways.
Yeah, an hour later, now, some of you may remember that I had a picture. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Because, let's see. Hopefully I still have this picture because you guys have to see this.
Hopefully, Dum Biden will finally get the point that we need to get involved because Russia's only going to escalate.
Oh yeah, I do have this picture still. You're gonna love this.
And if they're willing to shell a nuclear fucking power plant
Here,
already, what's worse?
do you know who this is? I'm zooming this in. For those of you who remember the movie Gladiator, the guy at the top was named Tigris of Gaul. He was a gladiator. He was the champion of the movie basically until he was killed by Russell Crowe, right? But I did this joke years ago because before he joined the Senate Judiciary Committee or whatever, man, he went on a tear. And I was like, who knew little fruity Lindsey Graham would be such a badass, right? So I had this picture. I just wanted to share it with you
Well,
because
you
of
know when
what.
Obama trying to ban the AR-15, he brought his PSA AR-15 to the to a
Oh,
couple
wait, wait.
commentaries.
This gets so much better, dude. There's a reason why I'm showing you this picture.
All right.
1 hour ago, Lindsey Graham formally called for Putin's assassination. In a tweet, it reads, "Is there a Brutus in Russia? Is there a more successful Colonel Stauffenberg in the Russian military? The only way this ends for somebody in Russia is to take this guy out. You would be doing your country and the world a great service." Lindsey Graham, welcome to America.
I
Holy
think I may
shit.
have to reelect him.
I think I may have to reelect him.
Well, he's my state representative.
He's gonna probably run for president.
God
Anyway,
help us.
that's impressive. Like,
Is his sister gonna stay in the White House?
I don't know. All I know is he's saying what we're all thinking, right? Let's be honest.
Right.
Even Al is like, wow. No kidding. Lindsey
I've been
Graham.
saying that for a while.
I would like to shake that man's hand, honestly. Like, I don't know where
I'm
this
surprised
newfound
a
aggression of
Russian
his came from, but I
billionaire
love it.
hasn't just offered, Putin's guards, $1 billion to put a
It-
bullet in them.
Yeah.
Can I say something about Lindsey Graham?
Go right ahead.
It seems like since John McCain died, Lindsey Graham found his balls.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
John McCain used to be the most outspoken one out of the bunch. Not really that great of a Republican, but again, neither is Lindsey Graham.
I remember him. You know what really got me convinced that something changed in him was when he went off about the Kavanaugh thing and like the high-tech lynchings, from before, for was it Clarence Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
Like he went on a rant, and I'm just like, yeah, yeah, no, he's saying the quiet parts out loud, and that's what the nation needs to hear right now. That's amazing. Anyway, got more updates. Zelensky releases a statement on the nuclear power plant attack. Now, to start your statement with, Europe needs to wake up. Okay. The biggest nuclear power plant in Europe is on fire right now. Russian tanks are shooting at the nuclear blocks. These are tanks equipped with thermal imagers, so they know exactly what they're doing. They have prepared for it. I am addressing all Ukrainians, all Europeans, and everyone who knows the word Chernobyl, who knows many casualties were inflicted by the explosion on the power plant. This was a global catastrophe, and its consequences were battled by hundreds of thousands of people. Tens of thousands had to be evacuated, and Russia deliberately wants to repeat that and is already repeating it on a scale 6 times larger. Please wake up, Europeans. Tell your politicians Russian forces are shooting at the nuclear plant in Ukraine.
Russian forces need to go.
There are 6 energy blocks here. 6. Chernobyl had 1 that exploded. We've gotten in touch with our leaders, our partners. I've already spoken to Charles Michel, Olaf Scholz, Andrzej Duda, and President Biden. We have contacted the head of IAEA, Grossi, and also Prime Minister Boris Johnson. We are issuing a warning. No country has ever shot at a nuclear power plant except for Russia. For the first time ever in our history, in the history of mankind, the terrorist country has reverted to nuclear terror. Russian propaganda has warned in the past that they would cover the world in nuclear ash. This is no longer a warning. This is real. We don't know for sure what the results of the fires will be. We don't know when the explosion will happen, or God willing, not going to happen. Nobody can know or calculate for certain, but our boys have always kept the nuclear plants safe. We made sure no provocations could happen. We made sure no one could go there or access it. We made sure no one could plant bombs there. Plant bombs and keep the world hostage to nuclear catastrophe. We must now stop the Russian soldiers. Immediately call your politicians. Ukraine is 15 nuclear blocks. Wait, it's moving. I'm getting another update. Ukraine has 15 nuclear blocks. If there is an explosion, this would be the end for everyone. You can forget what Europe looks like. It is the evacuation of the entire continent. Only immediate action can stop the Russian troops. Do not let Europe die in a nuclear catastrophe. Now that's pretty grim. Now, Al brought up a very good point, and he would be correct. There are safeguards built into these reactors. They have seismic sensors. They could scram themselves. But the fact of the matter is what if you outrun the systems? What if you detonate something quickly enough to crack it open like an egg before the countermeasure can work against shutting down the reactor? This is a risk that it's a race against time, essentially.
I'm
So-
going to say something here, and I hate to say this, but do you think that this is happening now because Putin knows that he can't win, and so he's switching tactics to the scorched earth policy instead?
I kind of alluded to that earlier. What I'm starting to think is he's making good on his threat that any other nation who provides assistance to Ukraine will be subject to a type of warfare never seen before. Do you remember him saying that the other day? This is it. This is what his plan was, I think. See, because the fact of the matter
Except we
is
have seen this before.
no, never in history has a military attacked a nuclear power plant.
No,
Ever.
but nuclear weapons have been used.
This isn't a nuclear weapon being used.
It's a nuclear power plant being used as a weapon.
If it blows, yes. But
No,
that's the
even
whole
if it doesn't
point.
blow.
That's the whole
Even
point.
if he's just able to crack open one of those blocks and spread radioactivity.
But see, that's
It
the
doesn't have to
thing.
blow up.
It's never been
That
done
shit gets
before.
airborne and goes everywhere.
It's still never been done before. This is new. They're writing the history right now, which is pretty
Which is
fucked
why
up.
the A-10s should be fucking rolling down the damn
Well, see,
fucking runways.
this is what I'm alluding to. Okay, the world has been sitting there watching this happen. Ukrainians have been dying. They have been lying to themselves that this is not a global war and that they're not involved. But when you started sending aid to the Ukraine, you became a co-conspirator to Russia's enemy. You are in that war. They know that. They're not stupid. Just by saying you didn't commit troops doesn't exempt you from involvement. Your bullets got there. Your tanks got there. Your planes got there. Your munitions, your medicine, even some of your blood is there already. You are part of this. And now, as fucked up as this sounds, Putin's about to tell you that you are responsible for what he's doing. Because that's his response. And he's not technically wrong. Which is why I was saying 4 days ago that you should have obliterated the convoy and immediately took away his ability to conduct war. But you didn't. And now they're 7 to 20 miles away from the city in Kyiv. You've got the entire south flank linked together now, and they're attacking one of the largest nuclear power plants in Europe. And we're still just watching.
To quote V for Vendetta, in for a pinch, in for a pound.
So, Secretary Jennifer Granholm. I forgot why I mentioned her yesterday. Anyway. She just spoke with Ukraine's energy minister about the situation at Zaporizhzhia. Russian military operations near the plant are reckless and must cease. They have activated their nuclear incident response team and is monitoring events in consultation with the Department of Defense and the White House. We have seen no elevated radiation readings near the facility yet. Okay, that's encouraging news.
Good news.
It is encouraging news. Then another story pops out. So I'm trying not to get away from this story first, but I've got different things stuck in here. So like for instance, about 45 minutes ago, IAEA put its incident and emergency center in full 24/7 response mode. So, what does that mean? They're going to have QRFs and Nest teams soon? Something like that?
Possibly.
Possibly? Okay. 55 minutes ago, um, a report was released that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had been targeted for assassination attempts and had thwarted them 3 times just this week. 3 times just this week. 4 days. Okay. Like, this guy's a ninja, right? He's pretty
I
good.
mean, if I was, if I was a Russian oligarch, I would be calling for Putin's,
Yeah, I'd be
assassination.
asking for his head on a platter.
Yeah, because all of my money I can't use. It's worthless now.
You can't go anywhere.
I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck where I am. Honestly, I'm not surprised more people aren't putting bounties on Putin. Honestly,
I think people are thinking about it.
They're thinking about it. I
they're
think
thinking
that
about it hard.
that Navalny guy needs to start. Okay, there's a movie. I don't know if you can still find it or be able to watch it, but it was a Russian movie and it was very good. It was called Admiral, and it was about the Russian Red Army versus the White Army War.
You mean the
And
Winter War?
well, it's
No.
it's the Red Army versus the White Army
Civil
in
War.
1917. This was
that's
the
Bolshevik
movie
War.
about this was the movie about Admiral Alexander Kolchak and how he took the White Army to Siberia and eventually was killed or whatever.
Yeah, well, even though the Allies went to the Siberian, it was part of the Siberian expedition, right?
What ended up happening was I think Russian Orthodox Jews turned him in or narked him out or something like that. There was something. I haven't watched the movie in a while, but it's very, very good because it's about basically the Russian Civil War getting crushed by the Bolshevik Revolution. And what you're seeing now is Navalny could be the man who starts the next one. In the name of capitalism, though.
Well, Putin's already tried killing him a couple times.
He's tried poisoning him. He's tried irradiating him. The guy's still alive. Now, here's the funny thing. From what I understand, Navalny's in jail.
Yep.
But he still has access to the internet. How's that work?
Through his lawyer, probably.
I guess. I don't know. Somebody's going to have to break that guy out, though.
His lawyer probably visits him and lets him text
So
or
he
tells him
tweets.
what
he
to
shoots
say.
video.
He tweets. Navalny tweets. He has a Twitter account. Anyway,
Maybe he has it.
my point is somebody needs to break that guy out because that might be the only hope Russia has left of reasonable leadership. He's got a big following. People like him.
Well,
Anyway, got no.
Well,
I
you
got,
we
realize
tried to
there
kill him.
with the situation in Russia, there'd have to be a shift in the military where at least half the military disagrees with Putin and decides to take either ignore his orders or go and get somebody else and back somebody else.
one of his top 3 generals is dead now. The other 2 were the 2 idiots that were scared shitless 30 feet across from a table from him. If you were 2 of the 3 remaining generals, right now your mortality isn't looking so hot. Right now you're probably looking at each other smoking Russian cigarettes going, these taste like recycled cow shit. Maybe we should join the West so we can have Joe Camel. Right?
Well,
and maybe they're looking at each
scenario
other.
is,
Maybe they're looking at each other and they're going, maybe we should get Navalny out and get rid of this asshole. Just a thought. I mean, Lindsey Graham's even asking that now, right? Of all people, Lindsey Graham.
I know.
Well,
I know.
You can definitely draw some parallels.
I'm finally
with
proud of him
most them
again.
that
It took a while.
ratchet
No.
up the pressure on the prime minister.
HVS, it wasn't for the
sooner or
Tsar.
later Someone turns on him.
It wasn't for the fall of the Tsar. It was for the fall of Kolchak himself. The Tsar was already dead by the time they caught Kolchak.
Tsar and all his family.
Yeah, they were already killed by the time they were hunting down Kolchak, and they somebody narked him out. I think that's how it goes. Anyway, I got one last story for you because it came in an update. It was about around 10 o'clock my time, 10 p.m. Central. Um, here it goes. Elon Musk, you know, the winner of the Battle of the Blofelds, says Starlink's satellite internet is the only non-Russian communication system still working in parts of Ukraine.
He did
And
send those over. I saw them. I saw them
yes,
unloading and
yes.
unloading them.
And the probability of it being targeted by Russia is as high as Viasat satellites were on the first day of the invasion. He said to use it
Well,
with caution, meaning turn on Starlink only when needed and place the antenna as far away from people as possible. Place light camouflage over the antenna to avoid visual detection. Because somebody had texted Elon or tweeted to Elon Musk and said, could Starlink also be under the threat of a cyber attack from Russia like how Viasat was before? And he says his answer was yes. Almost all of Viasat Ukraine user terminals were rendered permanently unusable by a Russian cyber attack on day one of the invasion. So yes. He gave them a link, but he says use it sparingly and carefully and covertly, because if you lose this, I can't get you more. Essentially, that's what he's saying.
well, apparently, you might have heard this story already because of, computer geeks.
Mm.
But apparently, Anonymous has taken control of the Russian spy satellite network and locked the fucking Russians out of it.
Now, did they get the ones that take pictures, or did they get the ones that have tungsten rods attached to them, or the ones with the missiles on them? Or is that just all
I think
Hollywood?
it's the ones that actually take the pictures.
Okay, because the other ones are probably just Hollywood bullshit.
Yes and no.
Listen, Ronnie Reagan told me a Star Wars. Damn it, I want different Star Wars, obviously, but maybe. Anyway, all right. So if we all don't have anything else to add, and I don't have anything else to add, then I think maybe I get to try to go to bed, and I get to try to seethe and soothe my furrowed brow from the lack of an anaconda today.
Not with all those puppies.
No, they're already asleep.
You
So
think that now?
I think what I'm gonna do, because it is 2 hours already, is play this. And I'm going to thank you all for taking the time in your busy lives to join us for our not so busy lives, let's be honest. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. But if you're a regular here, welcome back. Maybe like, share, subscribe, maybe tell somebody that I'm doing this, because thanks to the gracious voluntary, services of my panelists, they're helping me do this every day until this conflict is over. This wasn't something I thought I would take as seriously as I am, but this is serious, because this is history in the making, and this was the War Room, Day 8. Good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.